Hello, it's me Gunnar. Welcome to the grounds of Hagley Hall, Staffordshire. We need all of your help. Everybody on the internet, everybody from Rugeley, everybody in the entire world. It's really simple and I'll give it you in 10 seconds. We need to raise £4,000, but I want to do it in a unique way. I want £1 from every person watching this video. If you want to give more, you can do, but I definitely need £1 from all of you, and I'll tell you the reason why. All of you people from Rugeley will probably know of Hagley Hall. This place was a manor house from about the 1300s all the way through until the 1920s when it was broken down. When it was broken down, the huge lands, something like 350 acres, I was reading in the library the other day, were broken up. It was a farm. We've got Hagley Park School, which is just closed down. We've got Fair Oak School on the other side. We've got the youth centre at the bottom. I believe that was because of the Wheeldon family. But this section that we're in right now is owned by one person. One elderly 81-year-old man, and that man has been silently protecting our heritage in this town himself at his own cost. In 2017, the Environment Agency came to do flood defence works over the road. They agreed that they would take his fence down in order to gain access to his lands, and they would replace the fence afterwards. Only the fence was never fully replaced. There was a 35-metre section in the middle of it left open. Last year, or last summer, a group of vandals gained access to this land, which is about 4 acres, and destroyed this listed bridge. The Joe Illage Bridge dates back from the 1750s by a man called Asherton Curzon, who was MP for Clitheroe. They'd left this huge area open, and this is what caused the vandals to get in and destroy the bridge. He then went back to the council, they went back to the Environment Agency, and they agreed to give him £3,000. The full bill was £4,100. 12 months later, the fence is still open. They've got in again, and they've knocked down these 4 pillars for this bridge, causing another £2,500 damage. Myself and my friend Rob have been researching this area for quite a while, and we were really interested. And when we saw it in the paper, we decided to come down and see if we could offer some help. What we found when we got here shocked both of us. We expected to find the bridge destroyed, and we expected to offer some help in any way that we could. But what we actually found was an 81-year-old man who is tending to these grounds as if it was his garden, and he's done it for over 40 years, and it has been immaculate for the last few years. He's now at the point where he's really ill. It's making him really poorly. He's crying, he's upset. He's been in hospital this last week. For me personally, I don't want to see any member of our community left to struggle. And moreover, particularly not one who is doing something that is so positive for this community. There were so many people when I asked the question on Facebook the other day saying what they want to see with Hagley Fields. But what we're all forgetting is there are stories like this underneath our very noses and nobody knows about it. We've all got a pound down the sofa. We've all got a pound in the car door pocket. We've probably even got some shrapnel in a jar upstairs. And we can all spare it to save a little bit of our heritage and a little bit of our community. And I'm going to tell you why I think this place is massively important. Should we go right the way back to the beginning, Rob? Should we start in the 1100s with this area? So the lands originally of Rugeley, at the end of the Norman conquest of 1066, were given to a man called Roger of the Forest, or Roger de Fostarius. He was a sheriff of Stafford, and he married French nobility. They then passed the lands to his son, a guy called Ormus de Gwydion. Ormus de Gwydion gave rise to the Biddle family in his lineage. It's been said by one of his ancestors that he was one of the original Knights Templar. In fact, he actually travelled on the First Crusade with Richard Coeur de Lion, or Richard the Lionheart as we know him. And of course there are the stories of the Templar treasure and all of these things that took place. Of course the last Templar preceptory was here in Stoke. About 1300 that was destroyed when they were excommunicated by the Pope. These lands then passed backwards and forwards between the Diocese of Lichfield and the people of Rugeley. About 1300, over in Elmore Park, which is another part of this estate, Thomas Sommerholm created the first house, or the first manor house here. Now if you actually look at the evidence, there's no more than perhaps a summer house on there. But he did have a brewery, a mill, 4 houses, and a variety of other things. So we assumed that that was here on the bank overlooking the little brook that runs down. What's the brook called, Rob?
Rising Brook.
Rising Brook, can't think of the words, I've got so much information in my head. So about 1300 Thomas Sommerholm comes here and he does that. It then passes to the Baggett family and to the Weston family from Weston under Lizard, where everybody goes for a big party at V. And they split this land down the middle, dividing it by this brook that comes out of Cannock Chase. The Baggetts had one side, the Westons had the other. I believe also that the Westons are one of these original people that travelled on the first Crusades as well. And a lot of the families, you can see a lot of Crusader crosses around this area, on all of the churches, and in a wonderful history. Of course, we've got the mysteries of Shugborough when it comes to the Holy Grail and the Knights Templar as well. But maybe this place has a part to play as well. In the 1750s, 1752 to be exact, at 22 years of age, Asherton Curzon took over this property. And he was an MP for Clitheroe. He was friends with Nathaniel Lister, who I believe was his son-in-law or something similar, from down at Hawkshire Priory. And they actually shared MP for Clitheroe for the Conservative Party. When he came here, he started an extensive period of building works. He had an octagonal tower, which would have been at the top of the hill, designed by James Wyatt. James Wyatt also designed the Pantheon at Oxford Street in London. There was extensive grounds, pleasure grounds built, and gardens. There's an old herb garden up here as well. And this gentleman now owns a large part of it. Across the way, where Fair Oak or Hagley is, would have been the old deer park. I believe, and this is a little bit of the research we've been doing, I believe that the name Hagley comes from the phrase hanging hay fields. Originally, these forests, as I mentioned about Roger Fostarius, were given to the people who used to collect all the grasses and collect all the hay from the Cannock Chase forest. It then probably would have been baled and hung in the field adjacent to us, creating the name the Hanging Hay Fields, of course, for the deer. So this guy started these extensive building works. Now, here's an interesting fact about Asherton Curzon. He is the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Princess Diana. His son, Penn Asherton Curzon, was born right here at Hagley. So when Prince William takes a little bit of the throne, or when he becomes king of this country, a little piece of Rugeley, however unbelievable it is, a little piece of Rugeley will be sitting on the throne of England. And that alone is reason enough to help us protect this bridge. But that isn't the real reason, is it? Because the real reason is an 81-year-old man who is getting ill, who is struggling financially, who's protecting our heritage silently. And it's about time we did something. We're looking to raise around £4,000 to protect this bridge. We also need to get onto the council and raise some money to get the fence repaired. There's also all of these lands that he tends by himself. I would love to help him raise some money, keep this place out of the hands of the developers and people who want to put houses on these sites, and keep our little bit of heritage. And maybe one day this place will be a beautiful place that people can come in their dinner time from Rugeley and come and walk around and enjoy the beautiful gardens as they were intended. So I'd love to raise the money for this guy, and I'd love to help him preserve this land. But more importantly as well, the other thing that we want is your support. We can do this really easily, just by everybody going, this is my town and this is my community, and that's one of our vulnerable members, and giving just £1. We've all got one. I don't want £4,000 from one person, although that would be nice, and if you want to do it, please feel free, because there's a lot of work to be done here. But the reality is £1 from each of you in this town, and we would do this 3 times over, not a problem. And when we break it out to the internet, and please, when you see this video, share it and help us. We need to help this old chap, and we need to protect this history. So the history of this bridge, 1790 the bridge was built by a chap called Joe Illage of Northwich and Lostock. It was commissioned by Asherton Curzon, Viscount Asherton Curzon as well. These lands originally in the 1600s had a series of iron mills, iron forges, smelting furnaces, slitting mills. This is where the name Slitting Mill gets its name from. It was, of course, the Midlands' first slitting mill in 1611. It was actually the country's second slitting mill, where the first one was made in Dartford in 1590, I believe, but I think that this was the first ever working one. So not only did Asherton Curzon control the flow of the water through this area, he actually protected us from floods for over 250 years, and I would like to say that I think that £5.1 million could have been better spent rebuilding what was here, controlling the flow of the water, stopping it from flooding, and giving the kids some history, and giving the families somewhere beautiful to walk and to explore. Because this heritage and this history is fantastic. Many people, of course, will know about the catacombs and the underground stuff here at Hagley. We've been researching this, and it's a hell of a story. But in order for us to tell that story, we need your help first. I don't want to see this old man struggle. And I want to see that this town cares, and I know it cares. And I know people are passionate about this stuff. It's too easy to say put a bowling alley on, isn't it? But when this is gone, 250 years worth of history, it won't come back. This man lives in the last part of that house. And I know that he wants to protect these lands. And I think, and I employ all of you in Rugeley and in the wider world to help us, because it needs to happen. Peace.